Hey guys, long time no see. It's your old pal Stewie family here once again. The first video I've made in 5 months. Can't you believe that? Man, oh man. It's also the first video that I've made for 2014. I hope all of my subscribers and viewers are having a safe and happy 2014, and I hope God blesses you with many more years to come. Now, before I get into this whole discussion with the Powerpuff Girls revival from last night, I want to say that the interview with Kip Winger was a complete success. I'll be uploading that very soon to my YouTube channel, probably around the end of this month, going into next month. I'll air that on my channel. You don't want to miss that. That's going to be awesome. Alright, so before I start talking about this Powerpuff Girls revival from last night, I've been a fan of the Powerpuff Girls for 15 years. I grew up on the original Powerpuff Girls, and whenever Jenny Travotsky announced back in 2012 that there would be a revival and it would be on Cartoon Network, I was like, oh my god, this is going to be awesome. And somebody around that time posted the design of the Powerpuff Girls on DeviantArt, which I thought was just, fan-made. I didn't really think that it was the actual honest-to-God design. Until back around last week, I seen a preview for the brand new Powerpuff Girls revival, and it was that design that was posted on DeviantArt back around 2012. And I didn't really care that much for it. It honestly looked like, to me, the girls looked like how they was depicted on merchandise back around 2003 and 2004, when they was aiming at adolescent 12-year-old girls, whenever the Powerpuff Girls looked more grown up and stuff. It was kind of like that, mixed with their 5-year-old kindergartner, design. And it didn't really, look that great, especially Buttercup. Buttercup's design actually looked more like the Powerpuff version of herself from the comic book. And I really honestly, it didn't really look good. Her head was like too crudely drawn. I mean, it was just horrible. I didn't really like it that much. The revival from last night, I didn't really care that much for it. The animation style is very different from the original Powerpuff Girls series. If you remember the original Powerpuff Girls series, it was done in the Hanna-Barbera style, the hand-drawn animation, the cell animation. And the perfect circle face, the perfect circle eyes, the simple mouth, excuse me. That's the Powerpuff Girls I remember. This style of animation was 3D, a very 3D type animation. I wouldn't really say anime / manga, just like a little hint of it. But it was more 3D than anything. And in some parts the animation was very clunky. But it really worked out well in some parts. Honestly, if you ask me, if Cartoon Network was to go and make a new series that used this style of animation, I would support it 100%. But it just doesn't fit the Powerpuff Girls. To me, the Powerpuff Girls are perfect circle head, perfect circle eyes, simple mouth. That's what it will always be to me. And that's my whole thoughts on the animation. Now, the episode format is very similar to the format of the Powerpuff Girls Rule, as you remember, the last and official episode of the series ending for the Powerpuff Girls in 2009. The thank you letter that Craig McCracken pretty much sent out to all the fans. It's kind of in that format, and it's more of into the format of the I see a very funny cartoon in your future from a couple years ago. This episode is more like those two than anything else. It's got a lot of silly / goofiness in it. There's not a lot of seriousness in it. It's just a lot of very fast-paced silliness / goofiness, which, I didn't really care that much for. I mean, I really did like the Powerpuff Girls Rule episode, and I really did like I see a very funny cartoon in your future, but it just didn't really add up. I didn't really like it a lot. it seemed that it was more fast-paced. And, another thing I didn't like about this episode was it didn't have that, excuse my language, kick-ass, awesome ass-kicking scene. It didn't really have that in it. And I was really looking forward to seeing that, and it just never had that in it, and that just disappointed me. And the plot was just really stupid. But before I get into that, I want to talk about the personalities for the girls. If you remember from the original Powerpuff Girls series, Blossom was the smart one. She was the extremely smart one. She was the leader. Bubbles was the free-spirited 5-year-old. She was just acting her age. And Buttercup was the, tough, tomboyish, don't take no shit type girl. And basically, those personalities was really awesome. I really liked those personalities. With the girls in the revival from last night, they are more like realistic 5-year-old kindergarten girls, basically. For example, there is a scene in the episode where they go to the mall, and Bubbles wants to buy Dance Dance Revolution. And, Professor Utonium says, oh, well, I don't know about that. And then all three of them take this big temper tantrum. And, the Powerpuff Girls never did that in the original series. They never took a temper tantrum or anything like that. Never cried to get their way. And I just didn't really like that. It just didn't seem like the Powerpuff Girls to me. So I didn't really like that part. I didn't really like that aspect. And it also just seemed like all three of them were just idiots. Blossom. And Blossom is supposed to be the smart one. And, she was like an idiot in that episode. And, Bubbles acted more ditzy than she ever did in the original series. And I just really didn't like that. I didn't really like that part. With the plot. The plot didn't really sell me that much. Basically, this whole episode is about this. Okay, the episode starts up and you are introduced to 3 new characters. There's one character named Fibonacci, who is a world-renowned mathematician, who is voiced by the ever-so-amazing Ringo Starr of the Beatles. He did an awesome job in this episode. But anyways, Fibonacci gets kidnapped. The next character you're introduced to is an opera singer who gets kidnapped. And this world-renowned Badger, who is making a world tour and stopping at Townsville, he gets kidnapped as well. So, all 3 of these new characters that we've never been introduced to has been kidnapped by Mojo Jojo. The Powerpuff Girls beat him, and shortly after that, Mojo Jojo says that he was going to get the Powerpuff Girls back. Everybody laughs at him, and then he walks off. Which I really didn't like, because if you remember in past episodes, every single time the Powerpuff Girls stopped Mojo Jojo, he would get arrested right on the dot. In this episode, he just goes right back to his lair in the beginning. He didn't even get arrested in the beginning. What the hell's up with that? So, going on, they pretty much beat Mojo Jojo. The professor promises they can have anything that they want. They're going to go out tomorrow and get anything that they want. They go out and they get Dance Dance Revolution. They play it and stuff. And another thing to add to the realisticness of how they act like 5-year-olds is whenever they're going to go save the world, Bubbles is too busy playing Dance Dance Revolution and she doesn't want to stop to save the world, which I didn't really like. Either. But it kind of was an ode to past episodes when Bubbles would, sometimes not help out the girls because she was too busy cuddling with Octi. So, it was kind of like an ode to that. There's not really a lot of past references to episodes of the Powerpuff Girls, the original series. You do have an ode to the Meet the Beatles episode, from back in the day because you have Ringo Starr in it, and he throws around a lot of Beatles references, which I'll get to here in a minute. But anyways, basically they play Dance Dance Revolution and stuff, and they try to get the professor to play with them, and dance with him, and he won't do it because he experienced a bad dance experience basically in the 70s when he was growing up, and he just doesn't want to go back and relive that. So basically, they go to try to help the mayor open up his pickle jar, and basically during that time, sometime around that time, Mojo Jojo finds out that they got this game and sabotages it. And how he sabotages it is he makes the pants for the Dance Dance Revolution game, because the game in the series is called Dance Pants Revolution. And basically he makes them like robotic. And so when they put them on, they turn into dancing robots. I'm really not joking you. That's really what it is. And so, going on, he gets all 3 girls turned into dancing robots. Then he goes and pretty much causes chaos, and the professor decides that he is the only one that can stop this from happening. So he decides that the only way he can do this, that he can stop the Powerpuff Girls and bring them back to their natural selves, is to have a dance contest with them featuring the mayor and Miss Bellum. And so basically they have this big dance competition, and Mojo Jojo's a DJ. I mean, it was just stupid. And so basically Professor Utonium accepts that he cannot beat the Powerpuff Girls in a dance competition, so he cries, and when he cries, that somehow brings the Powerpuff Girls back to their old natural self, which is just completely stupid. That's stupid, because if you remember in the original series, Professor Utonium was decepted as a badass. If something happened to the Powerpuff Girls, he would find out who it was that did something to him, and he would whoop their ass. In this, he was decepted as being a pansy. And I just really did not like that at all. And basically, they come back to their senses, and then Mojo Jojo says that he really didn't want to take over Townsville, that he wanted to take over it in a completely different way by, having a softball team created, and they go and they play softball with him. They win a championship, and then he's arrested, which makes no sense whatsoever. And I just found that completely idiotic too. And let's see what else. I think that's pretty much the episode. So yeah, it was just completely stupid. And it wasn't funny in the sensation of how the Powerpuff Girls rule was, and I see a very funny cartoon in your future. There was some parts, I will admit, that did make me cackle, but it wasn't like ha ha ha, it wasn't like that. The parts that made me cackle was pretty much Ringo Starr's parts with his Fibonacci character. Whenever the opera singer had the tape over her mouth, and the badger was getting ready to rip it off, Ringo was just like, nope, let it be, and I just thought that was very funny. I really did like, the references towards math. There is another Beatles reference in that episode that a lot of people, look over, and whenever he's watering his plants, it's something to do with the pi symbol, but he says something about Octopus's Garden, something similar to Octopus's Garden, which is a song from the Abbey Road album by the Beatles, and I thought that was really awesome. I also liked the part where he's falling down the stairs, and I think he's saying prime numbers, I believe. I might be wrong, but I believe he's shouting out prime numbers, which I thought was pretty cool. But and I really like the badger in the whole episode. The Badger really made me cackle a lot. But besides Ringo Starr's parts and the Badger parts, I didn't really like it that much. That was pretty much the only things that made me cackle. It made me laugh. Everything else wasn't that great. I really honestly hope that if this does get made into a series, that it's just, directed towards younger kids. I mean, not old school fans. If you're an old school Powerpuff fan, I definitely, don't think that you need to watch this, because it's just absolutely horrible. You'll be completely disappointed. Believe me, I've been a fan of the Powerpuff Girls ever since I was a little kid, and I was completely disappointed by it. So, if you're a big fan of Powerpuff, I wouldn't even waste my time watching this piece of garbage. But if it's like their age demographic for Cartoon Network, then I can understand that. I mean, it was basically like a big pilot, more than anything. It was a big pilot, and they're testing the waters with this. But every single review that I have seen on the internet and on every single review video has said that they hate this. It's got a lot of negative reviews and stuff. So I really honestly don't believe that this whole thing is going to be turned into a series. I will have to admit it probably got really high ratings, but yeah, everybody that I know is just completely dissatisfied by this. So, that's my thoughts on it. And also, one more thing that really pisses me off about it is that they gave Bubbles ice breath. Because if you remember in the original, in the original series, Blossom was the only one that was supposed to have ice breath, and there was a big explanation on how she was the only one to have ice breath. All three of them in the original series had one specific special power. As you know, Blossom blowing ice, Bubbles spoke squirrel, and also Buttercup rolled her tongue. So I mean, in this they never even done that. And basically the only characters that you get in this is Mojo Jojo, Professor Utonium, Miss Bellum, the Powerpuff Girls, and that's basically about it. And those three new characters, and Mojo Jojo, if I didn't already say him. But yeah, I mean, that's it. You don't get the talking dog, which really pissed me off, because there's always a talking dog reference in one of the episodes, and that sucked. Also, another thing I really didn't like about the episode was that they couldn't do nothing unless like all three of them was there. And if you remember in like past episodes, they had a story revolved around two Powerpuff Girls. One would be revolved around Buttercup and Blossom, like the episode where him like possesses Octi, and then you got Buttercup and Bubbles, and Blossom and Bubbles, and in this, they had to have all three of them in order to do something, like open up the mayor's pickle jar, which I just found completely idiotic. So I just really flat out just didn't like this. I thought that it was just a huge slap in my face. The only one more thing that I really forgot to mention that I actually did like about this series, this revival, was the original cast coming back. Kathy Cavadini as Blossom, E.G. Daily as Buttercup, Tara Strong as Bubbles. I just really honestly thought, Tom Kenny as the narrator and the mayor. I just thought that was really awesome that they got all the original cast members back for this episode. But yeah, that and like the stuff that Ringo did and the Badger was pretty much the only awesome things about the entire episode. Everything else just sucked about it. I didn't like the way the animation was. I didn't like the way it was formatted, and it was just terrible. If I had to grade this episode, I would give it a D plus slash F. It was just terrible. Piece of rubbish. So, final sayings, if you're a Powerpuff fan, a really hardcore Powerpuff fan, don't even waste your time watching it. Because it's that bad. So that's what I gotta say. I don't like it. Animation's too choppy. Don't like the design of the girls. Professor looks like a pansy. The plot didn't really make no sense. So it was horrible. And that's pretty much all I have to say on it. This is Stewie Family saying thanks, goodbye, and I'll see you again.